nature. Season 1, episode 7.
Dear God.
Sorry.
God.
He gone.
Jeez.
No one gave me a transition, so I just went for it.
You
nailed
went
it.
for it hard.
Crushed.
Impressive.
Sorry,
In the
Bibbs.
nice
And I'm
start.
sorry, audience.
I
By
startled
the way,
easily, Kim.
That's Bibbs. He startles easily. That's Tim. He's very composed. And I'm Kim, probably too loud. This is episode 7. So we picked up after the end of the last episode in which
Eugene was sent to hell.
You
Rather
go to hell,
unceremoniously.
Yeah.
Just
Casually.
And that's been carrying on Jesse's shoulders. He's kind of given up a little bit, kind of not. But weirdly enough, Cassidy has become kind of his moral compass.
That's a weird development, and I love it.
Yeah.
I love that a blood-sucking vampire who had sex with his
anything.
girlfriend is the most moral person on the show right now that Eugene is gone.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because both Eugene and Cassidy have done some truly despicable things. We haven't really got into Cassidy's backstory. In the comics, he's a vampire. He's been around for a while. He hasn't always been a good person.
You can guess.
You can guess. He was very gung-ho about slaughtering those guys even before he knew they were angels. So, and we also find out what happened, because in the comics, Eugene was a failed suicide attempt. That's how his face became.
No, they mentioned it this episode.
They mentioned it in this episode. We finally find out what it is. But here it was a failed suicide.
Murder-suicide.
Yeah, this is a murder-suicide. This is a very different thing. And that creates a more of a murky, ethical gray area that Jesse is allowing to completely change his worldview now that he has the power of a god. And that's the thing. We talked about in the Facebook preview for this episode that you can't see anymore.
Sorry.
Gone forever.
But we talked about how the show is considered kind of slow. We all think it's a little bit slow?
I think it's a little slow getting to where I want it to go, but that's probably, as you mentioned, my expectations as a viewer in this specific context.
This episode especially was very character-driven, very expository, especially with Cassidy and Jesse. We learn a lot about Jesse's backstory. We learn a little bit about Eugene's backstory, and it's very much Jesse either succumbing to Genesis or his true nature coming forward or him making excuses for his bad behavior.
What do you feel is Jesse's true nature? Is he the lawless guy that Tulip wanted? Is he the guy his father wanted him to be? You know, one of the good guys because there's too many bad guys. Who's Jesse?
I think he's the kid, and he keeps getting pushed in different directions. And I think he's trying to do the best he can. I mean, what's he trying to do now? He's trying to be a good preacher. He was trying to do that before he got the Word of God. And now that he's got it, he's also still trying to do that, but now he has a lot more freedom and he has a lot more power, and power corrupts. This is the thing with this season I think is sort of interesting, is that a lot of people want this show to sort of get to the meat of the comic book, the epic adventure and chase and bizarre heroes and villains, etc. But what this season is doing that I think is actually very interesting, and I hope it's not so slow that it prevents us from ever getting to the good stuff. We have a season 2 coming, but hopefully they do pick up eventually. Is it's really focusing on what having the power of God would do to someone and how it would affect them before a whole bunch of crazy shenanigans go on. Like, it's actually just saying what if. And I think it's exploring that as deeply as it can in its context. And I'm actually very intrigued. Now, yeah, I think it probably could stand to pick up the pace a smidge, but I'm not bored with it. I find it very intriguing.
Aside from the one scene with Kincannon in this episode, Jesse's antagonists have been people that want him to be better. Like, Eugene wants him to not use this power the way he's using it.
I never viewed
Cassidy
Eugene
wants him
as
to
his
be
antagonist.
the person that he imagines Jesse is, because Cassidy's fiercely loyal to Jesse, and he explains away Jesse's behavior all the time. Jesse's a good guy. Jesse's a good person. I'm standing by Jesse, 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 Jesse. And he sees Jesse do all this shitty stuff and not own up to it, and he's like battling that with himself and with Jesse.
I'm with Kim. I think your definition of antagonist is a little hazy
Well,
here. They're challenging him, but I don't think that makes them his
that's not necessarily an
antagonist.
antagonist. I think Kincannon's right now the only true antagonist. Am I
Well,
right?
I guess Heaven in a vague sort of way, but we haven't really gotten into that yet.
The thorns in Jesse's side are all good people.
Yes, but I think they're all striving to try to make him a better person. There might be obstacles, but that doesn't make him antagonist.
Right, but Jesse thinks he's doing the right thing with his actions, and he's got good people telling them he's not.
Agreed, but he hasn't gone so far that he's the villain and they're the heroes, and they had to take him down so that they're flat on deck. I see what you're getting with this. I just think it's a bit of a semantics argument, but I think it does matter. But whatever, we'll let it go. I see what you're getting.
Speaking of semantics argument, what's going on? Like, I don't really understand Kincannon's argument. Will you explain it, please?
Okay, so here's what I think is going on. I think the show hasn't done a very good job of explaining this yet. I hope they get to it. But here's what I think is going on. Jesse made a deal with Kincannon that if you don't leave that church a Christian, I will give you my land. Mm-hmm. He didn't actually say convert to Christianity. He said serve God.
So he just the way he worded it.
I think he worded it wrong. Wording is incredibly important.
Can you serve God without being a Christian?
Which God?
He just said God.
He just said God.
So it's
he didn't
about
say Christian
what
God.
Odin thinks is
Christianity. God. Think of how many offshoots there are of Christianity. There's Catholicism, Protestants, Methodists. There's different specific belief sets, and simply serving God in any of those contexts doesn't necessarily make you a specific religion.
So we don't even know yet how Jesse's word affected Odin, nor if it's worn off already, or if it never wears off, or...
It seems to have had an impact. There was that moment where he was like, oh, and then he changed his outlook on things. Yeah. But the only thing he said specifically that caught my eye in that conversation was, you said I would leave a Christian, and I didn't. So I guess he's not a Christian. Yeah. He still follow God, though.
His scenes confuse me a bit, because we had, I think, the looking around at his model set with, like, blasting sounds, and he's looking out the window. And I feel like there's a change going on, or some character revelation, but I don't understand him so far.
Yeah, that's really hazy. I don't care for that part of it. I think that's not being done terribly well. Can we talk about Ryan Philippe?
Sure, all day, every day.
It's Ryan Philippe.
Yeah, of course, his favorite. He's a huge fan of Breach. Good movie, by the way. But I guess I didn't have anything to say. I just thought that was funny.
Well,
Cass gets a lot of good lines.
That boy lost a nipple. What was his name? He had a weird name, too.
Some kid lost a nipple.
Donnie. It's Donnie.
No, he had a weird last name.
Oh, I don't know, but it's Donnie.
Okay, fine. He's
the one that's only got one nipple.
Yeah.
Which we've seen.
So we saw, as you mentioned, we saw Jesse's backstory, and we saw that his father was killed. Not entirely sure who did it. They're not really.
I don't know if that'll ever matter. It's just all very convenient.
I think it will matter.
I think it mattered. It mattered in the comics, but I don't know, because right now they're changing a lot. They're changing a lot, and that's great. I love that. I like that they've taken the safety off of the series really early. This isn't just going to be one of those, Sin City comic adaptations where it has to be exactly the same, or we feel jilted in some way. I like that it's different. I like that it's unusual. I like knowing that, well, here's what I know about this character from the comics. That may or may not even matter or apply, or that might be completely different now. Arseface was completely different in terms of how he got the way he was. So I'm actually just sort of intrigued, and I wonder how far they're going to take it. Mm-hmm. And I hope they take it really far. Like super duper far, man.
What are you doing?
I don't know.
Maybe too far.
I don't know. I haven't it's been a long day. Hi.
Hi, Bibs.
Hi.
So I thought a lot of exceptional acting in this episode. The scenes in the kitchen where they're having their vanilla extract dinner.
What the heck?
Very dramatic. Lots of tension,
Yeah. It's nice to just see characters just sort of be together and interact together, because when you think about it, most of the stories that we see and that we tell, you look at them like Game of Thrones, it's all the bullet points, it's all the highlights, it's all the really cool stuff that's happening to all these people. Most of their day is spent doing not interesting things. Mm-hmm. They eat lunch, they make lunch, they clean up around the house, they do a lot of, like all of us. And sometimes it's interesting to see those scenes play out with characters who are in the middle of doing interesting stuff. And they're also vividly constructed. They're all very distinctive characters. Kincannon's vague, but he wasn't really in that scene.
Right.
Like,
Tulip.
I'm fascinated. Yeah, Tulip. Tulip is a very interesting, fascinating character. They're all interesting characters.
And now we finally learn a little bit more about Tulip's real backstory and her connection to Jesse, how it goes all the way back to when they were kids.
Yeah, they're very intrinsically linked. And I can see why they can't, even though they've grown apart, they can't give up on each other, and that's great. I think it's neat.
Well developed.
Yes.
All right. Well, this episode ended with storming the church.
The South rising again, really.
South rising again. Yeah. It looked like there were some Civil War reenactors in there as well.
With the help of a bulldozer.
That's a fun idea. And Jesse's just going to walk up and go, stop. And they're like, oh, go home. Oh, okay, sorry. Like, I'm not actually that threatened by that unless they find a way to duct tape his mouth.
Go
shut.
to hell and
I
bring
didn't even know
Eugene
about
back.
I'm actually hoping for a big vampire fight.
That's what I would do.
Yeah?
Because, I mean, if Cassidy's all scorched up, he needs some blood to rejuvenate. And
That's a good point.
Here comes an army full of blood bags, and
That'd be fun.
that'd be cool.
Did
Yeah.
you like that stand Cassidy took of, you know, are you going to let me burn up too?
They're super dramatic and interesting.
That was a
Yeah.
great scene. That was really handled really, really well. And I love when vampires burn in sunlight is a fun visual trope that not every
he's
story
gross.
does really, really well.
Yeah.
This isn't quite
looks
Don Rickles and
agonizing.
Innocent Blood good, but
Ugh.
this is really, really good.
Yeah.
Well, it's not totally fatal for him, like an interview with a vampire or
Which is
something
instantly,
like that. Yep.
Yeah, just what I never sometimes, I remember that on Buffy the Vampire Slayer to be like, oh yeah, I can't be out in the sunlight for too long.
Or
You're
Twilight, where
fine.
you're just there all the time.
You're just fine.
There's, I always like to see the different vampire rules
Yeah.
for each movie or TV show because they're all a little different.
Well, he could eat. Some vampire stories, vampires can't even digest human food, and
Yeah.
he was just like, oh, it's delicious.
He likes ketchup.
Not helping anything, but yeah, he does like the ketchup. And I completely disagree with his philosophy about The Big Lebowski, by the way. I think that is a very well constructed film, and I think if Cassidy would simply give it another chance, he would see that the plot actually does make sense. It's just unnecessarily convoluted, like many Raymond Chandler stories.
And he was into Lady Killers, right? That was
Yeah,
his
he thought
defensible movie?
was it Lady Killers that he liked? I think it was Lady Killers that he liked. He thought, well, Lady Killers isn't that bad. It's not intolerable cruelty bad. It's just not particularly good Coen Brothers. So
Cassidy has unconventional opinions.
he does. Well, he liked No Country for Old Men. That's a good. Miller's Crossing is brilliant. We can all agree on that.
So you followed that
I feel
quick
like you
rant a
two
little bit
were
further
having
than
a
I
film
did.
I
was
was
lost
very
a little bit.
invested.
Okay.
I was very invested. We've
I
all
was
had
just
our Coen Brothers
watching the
arguments.
ketchup for the most part.
It looked good. Well, was it meatloaf?
I don't know.
You gotta
some sort of
drench
burger.
meatloaf
Yeah.
in ketchup.
Who
Preacher.
knows?
Anyway, Preacher. It ended with them storming the church. What will happen? Will it be stopped right away? Find out next week, along with us. But not me, because I'm going to go to Comic-Con.
You're gonna get.
Bye.
Bye.
I'll be here.